All right, week 7. It's late and I'm tired, so I'm probably going to say some stuff out of my head, so please forgive me. But we're going to go over 1st and 2nd Kings real briefly. One of the things I want you to kind of see in 1st Kings to start with is kind of this huge expansion of the kingdom of Israel under the reign of Solomon, and then a very sharp decline spiritually in Solomon's life. And as the king goes, so goes the kingdom. You're going to see that kind of refrain throughout the books of First and Second Kings. The other thing that you want to keep in mind when reading First and Second Kings is the division of the kingdom, which comes after Solomon's death. So First Kings starts with Solomon and the beginning of his reign, how he eventually takes the throne. You're going to see the building of the temple, very important in the date, very important date in the kingdom of Israel. You're going to see Solomon building his palaces and expanding the empire through diplomacy. One of the ways he does this is marrying numerous women. He has a harem and wives that number into over 1,000. So he makes a lot of deals with foreign leaders, usually through some of these marriages. This is strictly condemned by the prophets, and it's one of the things that the biblical writers say lead to Solomon's spiritual decline. He ends up worshiping or allowing for these wives to bring their idols in and the worship of their idols from their homelands into his kingdom, and he ends up kind of following suit with them rather than worshiping the one true God that is proclaimed by the prophets of Israel. This leads to more confrontational types of prophets. One of the ones you're going to see highlighted is Elijah and also Elisha, his mentee, so to speak. But after, just so you can kind of get an idea of what you're reading here, after Solomon dies, what happens is the kingdom actually splits in two. And as it does, you're going to notice that sometimes kings will speak of the kings of the north or the kingdom of Israel. So you got the kingdom in the north, which is known as Israel, okay, and then the kingdom of the south, or which is known as Judah. So you'll hear about the kings of Judah or the kings of Israel. So when you're reading through 1st and 2nd Kings, you need to kind of keep that in mind, and note who the biblical writer is speaking about. Now in the north, basically it follows a very drastic trend of idol worship. As a matter of fact, I think there are no good kings in the north. One of the things you'll notice is the biblical writer kind of gives an observation or an evaluation of each of the kings' reigns, and no kings in the north have anything good said about them. As a matter of fact, it'll say something, or the biblical writer will say something like, the kings did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. Okay, so again, no kings in the north were good. In the south, however, you had a few kings that were good. Hezekiah is one, Josiah is another, and I think there might have been one more. And it'll say that king did what was right in the sight of the Lord. But you had some horrible kings. Manasseh, I think, that's Hezekiah's son, was horrible, and did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. So kind of keep that in mind when you're reading. You're going to read, and some of these kings, they reign at the same time. You got a king in the north, a king in the south. So you're going to see some interactions between these, and that's something you got to keep in mind. Also, as you get into 2nd Kings, one of the things you're going to notice is that these kingdoms are going to face outside threats. The biblical writer sees these threats as instruments of God's judgment. So Assyria, which is an empire that arises in the 700s BC, probably a little before that, eventually grows and expands its empire to the point where it actually comes and takes over the northern kingdom around 722 BC. the northern kingdom and Samaria, the capital of the northern kingdom, is captured at that time, and they deport a lot of the inhabitants of the land and actually import a lot of the Assyrian citizens of the time. The offspring of the Jews who remained in the land and the Assyrians who moved into the land will later be known as the Samaritans, and that comes to play very heavily in the New Testament. The southern kingdom kind of continues on for a little while. The biblical writer will note that's probably because of the good kings it had. God kind of spares judgment, so to speak. And what will eventually happen is another empire will arise called Babylon. That empire will come in and take control in around 586 or so. It actually comes in and captures the city of Jerusalem, and the southern kingdom falls to Nebuchadnezzar, who is the general of the army at the time, and he takes Jerusalem, sieges the city, and actually destroys the temple and takes all the precious instruments of that temple, including, some believe, the Ark of the Covenant, back to Babylon, the capital city of the Empire of Babylon. Also during that time, many of the high-ranking Jewish officials and their children are deported to Babylon. The king of Judah at the time, being one of those. I think he would eventually have his eyes gouged out, and after he has his sons killed in front of him. One of the key prophets during this time would be Jeremiah. Jeremiah prophesies time and time again that Babylon is going to come and destroy the land if the people don't repent, if the king doesn't repent, doesn't turn back to God. And that ends up happening just as Jeremiah promised. Jeremiah will end up going into exile in Egypt, and while he was prophesying, be branded a traitor by his country. So that's kind of what you got going on. Big events, real quick. Solomon is made king. He builds the temple to the Lord. Solomon dies. The kingdom divides into northern kingdom, which is named Israel, and the southern kingdom named Judah. Okay? After that, you have a line of kings in the north, all of them bad. You have a line of kings in the south. Only a few of them, I think 2 or 3 of them, are good. The northern kingdom is eventually conquered by Assyria around 722. Judgment is spared on the southern kingdom, but they are eventually conquered by Babylon around 586. And throughout this time, you have a series of prophets who come and go that prophesy against the wickedness and the idolatry in the nation. People like Isaiah comes along during the time of Hezekiah. You got people like Jeremiah coming along towards the end of the southern kingdom's reign. You have people like Hosea and Micah and Nahum and some others that are prophesying here and there during this time. And so when you read the prophets, even though they come after the kings and even Chronicles and the writings like Psalms, they come after those. Chronologically, a lot of them fit within this time frame. So kind of keep that in mind as well. Good luck this week. Make sure you click on all the links in the module for Module 7, and make sure that you read through those links and read the read the notes and the lectures and things like that. And I hope you're all right. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thanks.